right, this video is over rational expressions applications. So the first problem here, it says find an expression to represent the area of the rectangle. Well, area of rectangle is length times width. So we are multiplying these two things right here together. So you're using the same rules that we've been talking about, the multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting, all that kind of stuff. So the first thing, in order to multiply these two things together, we need to go ahead and factor what we can. So this right here, this width is going to be 2x over, we want to factor this. What multiplies to give you 27 and adds to give you negative 12 is negative 9 and negative 3. So you say x minus 9, x minus 3. And we are multiplying times. And so over here in our numerator, we can go ahead and do the difference of squares. So it turns into x plus 9, x minus 9. And it's over in our denominator. We can take out a 4x squared out of both of those. And so then that leaves us with an x and plus 9. Okay, so then from there we just want to simplify. So our x minus 9s cancel, our x plus 9s cancel. 2x over 4x squared is going to simplify down to 1 over 2x. And then that x minus 3, we just carry it down here to the denominator where it stays. And that is our final answer. Okay. On this one, find an expression to represent the area of the rectangle. Same thing. Okay. So we just want to factor each. So on this part right here, we'll factor the numerator. So what multiplies to give you negative 10 and adds to give you a positive 3. That's going to be a positive 5 and a negative 2. Out of the denominator, we can take out a 7, and that leaves us with x minus 2. Okay, on this one, we're gonna have to do a slip and slide. So I'm gonna write that over here to the side. So we have x squared minus 11x, and 3 times negative 20 is negative 60. So then what multiplies give you negative 60 and adds give you negative 11 is negative 15 and 4. So x minus 15 and x plus 4. Since we multiply times 3, here we have to divide by 3. So that turns into x minus 5 and 3x plus 4. Okay, so we have x minus 5 and 3x plus 4. And then out of our denominator here, we can do the difference of squares. And so that turns into 5 plus x and 5 minus x. Okay, so then what cancels here? We have x minus 2's cancel. We have x minus 5 and 5 minus x. That is going to cancel down to a negative 1. X plus 5 and 5 plus x, even though they're switched, they're still both positive, so they actually are the same thing. So those are going to cancel each other out. And so that leaves us within our numerator, we have a negative 1 times this right here. So that turns into a negative 3x minus 4, and the whole thing is still over 7. And that is our final answer. Number 3, if the area of a rectangle garden is a squared over b minus b, and the length is a over b plus 1, find an expression to represent the width of the garden. Okay, so if we're trying to find the width, then that means we're doing area divided by the length equals the width. Okay, so our area here is that a squared over b minus b, and we are dividing by a over b plus 1. So we have a complex fraction here. So we want to, on this one right here, that's like saying that's over 1. So we need to multiply this side times a b. Okay, so that actually turns into a b squared. So this is a squared minus b squared, and the whole thing is over b. And we want to multiply times the reciprocal of this. Well, to turn this to where it has a common denominator of b, that's going to be b over b is what that turns into. So that means our numerator becomes a b, and it's over a plus b. Okay, so then To simplify, well, first we need to do the difference of squares with our numerator over here. So that turns into a plus b, a minus b. It's over b, and then times b over a plus b. So our b's cancel, and our a plus b's cancel, and so all we're left with is a minus b is going to be our answer. Okay, number 4, it says find an expression to represent the area of the triangle below. Well, area of a triangle is 1/2 base times the height. So we need to multiply these two things together and also times 1/2. So it's, so go ahead and let's factor this. So let's put the 1/2 there. Factor the numerator here so we can take a 9 out of that, and that turns into an x plus 2. Out of our denominator, we can take a 6x out, and that turns into x squared minus 3. I'm sorry, minus 4. I don't know where I got 3 from. Minus 4. But then we can still do difference of squares with that. Okay, so that actually is going to be 6x and then x plus 2, x minus 2. Okay, and then over here, factoring the numerator, well, first we can take an x out. I'm going to write this right here. Plus 11x minus 26. And then we want to factor this. So what multiplies to give you negative 26 and adds to give you 11 is 13 and negative 2. So we have x plus 13 and x minus 2. And it's still over 3x. Okay, so then from there we want to simplify. So we have x plus 2's cancel, x minus 2's cancel. The x right there is going to cancel each other out. The 9 over 3 is going to equal 3. And so we are left with, in our numerator, we have 1 times 3 is still just 3. And we have x plus 13. And over here, we just have 2 times 6x, which is going to be 12x. Okay, now if we wanted to go ahead and simplify that 3 over 6x, we could have. I just didn't think about it whenever I was looking at it. But now I'm going to go ahead and simplify it. That's going to simplify down to 1/4. So it's actually going to be x plus 13 over 4x is going to be our final answer. Okay, number 5, find an expression to represent the volume of the rectangular prism shown below. Okay, well, volume is just all the dimensions together. So length times width times height. Okay, so right here, our numerator, we want to do slip and slide. Okay, I'm going to do that over here on the side. So that leaves us with x squared minus 32x, and 5 times 12 is 60. What multiplies to give you 60 and adds to give you negative 32 is negative 30 and 2. So x minus 30 and x minus 2. Because we multiply times 5, here you have to divide by 5. So that gives us x minus 6 and 5x minus 2. So x minus 6 and 5x minus 2. And the whole thing is over 10x cubed. Okay, on this part, that 18x squared, can't do anything about that. But it is over, what can we take out of this? We can take a 9x out of both of those. And so that will leave us with 5x minus 2. On this one, the numerator, what multiplies to give you 48 and adds to give you 14 is 6 and 8. So x plus 6, x plus 8, and it's over. Right here we can do the difference of squares, so 6 plus x and 6 minus x. So then from there we just want to cancel. So 5x minus 2's cancel. X plus 6 and 6 plus x, because they're both positive, they are technically the same thing, so those cancel. Right here we have x minus 6 and 6 minus x, so those are opposites of each other, so that's going to cancel down to a negative 1. let's see, 18x squared and 9x, that's going to cancel to a 2x. Yeah. And then 2x and 10x cubed is going to cancel to a 1 over 5x squared. Okay, so technically we don't actually have to write the 1, but we can, so you know that that's what that canceled down to, and that's to 5x squared. So really all that leaves us left with in the numerator is we have negative 1 times x plus 8. So that's going to turn into a negative x minus 8, and the only thing we have left in the denominator is 5x squared. Okay, and that is going to be our final answer right there. Okay, all right, if we flip over to the back side. On this one, it says the volume of a rectangular prism below is 12x plus 16. Find the height of the prism. Okay, so they want us to find this right here. Well, volume equals length times width times height. Okay, so that means that we are doing, if we have length times width right here, we can go ahead and multiply that together, and that means that we're doing 12x plus 16 divided by this stuff right here. Okay, so this part, let's go ahead and factor this. So we can do the difference of squares with that, so that turns into 3x plus 4, 3x minus 4, and it's over, what multiplies give you negative 35 and adds give you 2 is 7 and negative 5. So x plus 7 and x minus 5. And we're multiplying times this, so we can take an 8x out of that. And that leaves us with x minus 5. And then right here, we just have 3x minus 4. Okay, so before we do anything, before we do any of the complex fractions and all that kind of stuff, let's go ahead and simplify this part down. So our x minus 5s are going to cancel, our 3x minus 4s are going to cancel. Okay, so then that leaves us with 12x plus 16 and over 1, and we're going to multiply times the reciprocal. Well, the only thing in our denominator here is x plus 7. And in our numerator, we have 8x and 3x plus 4. Okay, now to be able to do this, we need to simplify this down. So what can we take out of 12x plus 16? Well, we can take a 4 out of both of those. And so that turns into 4, and it's 3x plus 4. Okay, so that means that our 3x plus 4s are going to cancel, and our 4 over 8x is going to be 1 over 2x. So this turns to a 2x right here. So we're really just left with x plus 7 over 2x is going to be our final answer. Okay, and if you wanted to go ahead and take out the greatest common factor here and go ahead and simplify that before you write it down right there, you can. I just forgot that step, and then I had to go back and fix it. Okay. Number 7, find an expression to represent the perimeter of the rectangle. Okay, well, perimeter, it's 2 times this plus 2 times this. Okay, so if you want to, well, there's actually multiple different ways you could do it. You also could say perimeter equals 2 times the length plus the width. Technically, it's the same exact thing, but you can wait until the end to do the 2. You're still going to get the same thing. If you want to go ahead and add these two things together right here, you can do that because they have like bases right now. They have common denominators, so you can actually do that. And so that turns into an x squared plus 8x plus 15, and this whole thing is multiplied times 2. Oh, I'm sorry, and I forgot my over my x plus 5. The whole thing here is multiplied times 2. Okay, so in our numerator, we want to factor that. So what multiplies to give you 15 and adds to give you 8 is going to be 5 and 3. So at 2, we're just going to keep pulling down. And we have x plus 5, x plus 3, and the whole thing is over x plus 5. Okay, well, our x plus 5s are going to cancel. So then that leaves us with 2 times x plus 3, okay, which equals 2x plus 6. And that is going to be our final answer. And you would have gotten the same thing if you would have done that from the very beginning. But it actually saves you a little bit there, because if you would have done this in the very beginning, then you're going to end up having to do slip and slide method and all that kind of stuff, or take out a greatest common factor and then factor and all that kind of stuff. So this actually works easier that way. Okay, on number 8, find an expression to represent the perimeter of the rectangle. Okay, same thing, but this time we don't have like bases. So first on this one, we need to factor that. So what multiplies to give you 4 and adds to give you negative 5? That's x minus 4 and x minus 1. So that means on this side over here, we need to multiply times x minus 4. Okay, so our like bases are x minus 4 and x minus 1. Our numerator here, we're going to have x squared. Okay, that was a 6x and a negative 24. Okay, so we have negative 4x and 6x is a positive 2x. And then we just have negative 24. Okay, so now our numerator we need to factor. So what multiplies to give you negative 24 and adds to give you 2? That's going to be a positive 6 and a negative 4. So that 2 we just carry down. So we have x plus 6, x minus 4. It's over x minus 4, x minus 1. So our x minus 4s are going to cancel each other out. Okay, so then that's going to leave us with 2 times this. Well, that's like saying 2 over 1. So 2 times x plus 6 is 2x plus 12, and it's over x minus 1. And that is your final answer right there. Okay, on number 9, write an expression to represent the area of the trapezoid below. Well, area formula of a trapezoid is 1/2 times base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Okay, so we are adding the two bases here together. So that means this one right here, we need to multiply times a 2. So that turns into 2x plus 6 over 2x. Okay, so if we are, right now we have 1/2 times, okay, adding this together, 2x and x is 3x, and 6 and 9 is 15, and it's over 2x. Okay, over here, we're doing times the height, so we have 12x over, this right here we need to factor, so what multiplies to give you negative 35 and adds to give you negative 2, it's negative 7 and 5. So x minus 7 and x plus 5. Okay, our numerator right here, we still need to factor that, so we can take out a 3 out of both of those. And that turns to an x plus 5. Okay, so now simplifying. So our x plus 5's cancel. 12x and 2x, that just turns to a 6. The 2 and 6 just turns to a 3. So we have 3 times 3 is 9 over x minus 7. Okay, write an expression to represent the surface area of the rectangular prism below. Okay, surface area of a rectangular prism equals 2 times the length times width plus 2 times the length times height plus 2 times the width times the height. Okay, so let's just rewrite that. So 2 times the length, 6 over x, times the width, which is x over 4, plus 2 times the length, which is 6 over x, times the height, which is 3 over 2x, plus 2 times the width, which is x over 4, times the height, which is 3 over 2x. Okay, all right, so then from there, we're just multiplying straight across and simplifying down. Okay, so right here we have 6x, but then we're still multiplying times 2, so 2 times, because this technically is like over 1, the whole thing. So 2 times 6 times x is 12x over 4x. Right here we have 2 times 6 is 12 times 3 is 36 over x times 2x is 2x squared. And then over here we have 2 times x times 3 is 6x over 4 times 2x is 8x. Okay, so then from there, let's go ahead and simplify these down as much as possible before we have to add together and get common bases. Okay, so 12x over 4x, that's going to simplify down to 3 over 1. 36 over 2x squared is going to simplify down to 18 over x squared. And then 6x over 8x, the x's cancel out, so 6 over 8 simplifies down to 3/4. Okay, so now that makes it easier for us to be able to see what our common base needs to be. Really, you're just multiplying all of them together, so it's going to be a 4x squared is what our base needs to be. Okay, so this one you need to multiply the whole thing times the 4x squared. This one we need to multiply times a 4, and this one we need to multiply times an x squared. Okay, so then that's going to turn into 4x squared times 3 is 12x squared. 4 times 18 is 72, so plus 72. And 3 times x squared is a 3x squared. And the whole thing is over 4x squared. Okay, so combining like terms right here, so we have 12x squared and 3x squared is a 15x squared. So we have 15x squared plus 72. Okay, so then how can we simplify that? What can we factor out of a 15 and a 72? Well, we can take a 3 out of both of those. And so then that's going to turn into 3 times 15x squared divided by 3 is 5x squared, and 72 divided by 3 is 24. And the whole thing is over 4x squared. Okay, that's not going to simplify anymore, so that is going to be your final answer. Okay, all right, so that is rational expressions applications.